Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my Spring Fling Crafting Event where I'm sharing a brand new spring faux leather craft for your Cricut every day for 10 days. Today in this video, I'll be showing you how to make these really cute bird's nest and birdhouse earrings. These are a great faux leather and heat transfer vinyl project, and I'll walk you through step by step how to make them in this video. I have the SVG file for this project available in my shop, and I'll leave a link to it for you. First, let's get started by going over the tools and materials we'll be using. So I'll be using my Cricut Maker today, but you can use any of the current Cricut machines for this project because they all cut faux leather with the standard fine point blade. And the faux leather that I'm using is just a solid white. You'll want to have a solid color for the background on these earrings, and then you can apply whatever colors of heat transfer vinyl on top. So the heat transfer vinyl that I'm using is Caesar Easy Weed. I also have some Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl, but you can use what you have on hand. I'll be cutting my faux leather with the purple strong grip mat, and then I'll cut my heat transfer vinyl with the green standard grip mat. And I'll be pressing my heat transfer vinyl with my Easy Press Mini, but you could use a larger Easy Press or even a big heat press if that's what you have. I have a heat pressing pad to protect my surface, and then you'll need a cover sheet of some kind. This is a piece of Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to a smaller size. Some other things I'll be using: some blue painter's tape. This is going to help me tape down my faux leather and get really nice cuts. You'll need a weeding tool of some kind. I like a pin pen, but you can also use a hook. And then you'll want some scissors. I like these curved detail scissors just in case there's some fuzzies or anything I need to trim up on the faux leather. Now, if your earring hole doesn't cut all the way through with the Cricut, don't worry. We can always punch the hole manually with a 1/16 inch hole punch. These are available on Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and I'll leave a link to this for you. Finally, we'll be attaching our earring hooks. I'm using just regular shepherd earring hooks with some 6mm jump rings. Okay, so let's hop into Cricut Design Space. We will go ahead and get our file set up to cut, and then I'll walk you through step by step on how to make these fun earrings for spring. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG file for this project has been saved on your device. Click on it to select it and then click Open. You'll see a preview of the shapes. Click Continue and then Upload. And our little bird's nest and birdhouse earrings will load onto your canvas. So you can see here we have two versions of each design. One has a pre-cut earring hole and one does not. And I always like to give you these two options because you may want to change the size of your earrings. So for example, if you wanted to make these a lot larger, then that would change the size of your earring hole. And then you wouldn't want to use a pre-made hole. You'd want to make your own earring hole, either with a hand punch, or I have a YouTube video all about how to make your own earring holes. Now, the other reason I give you this option is if you wanted to use this design as a decal or maybe apply it to a t-shirt, something like that, then you would not want the earring hole. But since in this video today I will be making earrings, I'm going to delete the designs that I'm not going to use off of the canvas. So I need to click on my layers first and then click on Ungroup. And now I can manipulate each layer individually if I'd like to, or delete shapes off of the canvas. So I'm just going to select the versions without the pre-cut holes and click Delete. And now we just have our little birdhouse and our bird's nest with the pre-cut holes. Let me zoom in for a moment. So let me show you quickly the little layers here on each of these designs. So that bottom layer is that white faux leather that I mentioned. You can use any solid color you'd like. And on the little bird's nest, we have 4 different layers of heat transfer vinyl that will be applied on top. And for the bird's nest, we have 5 different layers that will be applied on top. These colors are completely up to you. You can cut them from whatever color you'd like. So in your download folder, I'll include what's called a layering guide, and it will show you which layers to press in what order. So be sure to check for that in the download guide, or you can follow along in this video. So I'm not going to change any of the colors or do anything to the size here, so I will just click the Make It button. I'm cutting my materials on a mat. The first thing we want to do is go through every one of our mats and toggle that mirror button on because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl cut in reverse. So once I've mirrored each mat, the next thing I want to do is go through and just move my shapes apart from each other a little bit and apart from the edges. Now it doesn't matter what color we have here on our mat, the shapes are going to cut from whatever heat transfer vinyl you put down. So if you don't want these particular shapes to be pink, that's fine. You'll put a piece of heat transfer vinyl down on your mat in this spot to cut out the little birdhouse shape. And then whatever color you want these little eggs to be, you can put another small piece of heat transfer vinyl here. So don't worry too much about what colors you're going to use. Let's just make sure that we have these things set up properly so that they will be easy to cut and weed for you. So now that I've arranged all of my heat transfer vinyl layers, the last one that I want to do is my faux leather layer. Now if you're cutting both earrings at one time like I am, and you're cutting that bottom layer from the same color faux leather, I'm cutting it from white, then I can put these shapes a little bit closer together so that I can use one piece of faux leather, for example, a piece about 3 inches wide and a little taller than 3 inches tall. I can just put one piece of white faux leather down and all of my shapes will cut. If you're cutting your base layer from different colors of faux leather, then I recommend moving your other shapes to a different part of your mat and then placing a different color in that separate area. I hope that makes sense. So let me just put these back. I always like to cut my faux leather layer first, so I will be here on this mat before I click continue. For the faux leather mat, you're going to use the faux leather paper thin setting. This setting is bookmarked here for me. If you don't have it bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. Now, if you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to Custom before you can find this setting when you search. So faux leather paper thin, I always use more pressure. And here's the reminder that we're just using the regular fine point blade that comes with the Cricut. Now for all of your heat transfer vinyl layers, you're going to use the cut setting, either that you know works best for you with your machine, or the cut setting that the manufacturer recommends for your particular type of heat transfer vinyl. Okay, let's hop back over to my overhead camera and we will start to cut out these mats. So I've found a piece of white faux leather, a little scrap, and I've trimmed it down to that size that I noted in the mat preview screen where my shapes would cut out completely. And I'm going to put this pretty side down. I know it's hard to see because it's white. Pretty side down on my purple Strong Grip mat. Press it down well with your fingers. And then we're going to use some blue painter's tape to tape this down on all sides. And this is going to help keep our faux leather from shifting while the Cricut is cutting. And it's going to help us get really nice clean cuts with our machine. So I'm just going to tape this around on all sides. After the cut is complete, you can peel up these little pieces of blue painter's tape and save them and use them quite a few times before you need to throw them away. So we have our faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure already ready to go. So I'm just going to load the mat into the machine and begin the cut. So our cut has run one time, and before you unload the mat, I always recommend using a sharp weeding tool and just lifting up the edges of the cut shapes to see if it looks like they cut all the way through. If they did, you can go ahead and unload your mat, or you can run your cut again in case you're worried that maybe the earring hole didn't cut all the way through, or maybe it's a more complex or detailed cut and you just want to have another go round. But this looks pretty good, so I'm going to unload the mat and remove my shapes. And we can see here at the top of our shape, we can see where the Cricut made that earring hole. Now, if it didn't cut all the way through like this one, for example, that's when we can go in with our small curved scissors and we can just trim off that edge. Or if you don't have enough of it cut to trim, that's when you can use your 1/16 inch hole punch. And what I like to do is take a look at where the Cricut hole is, or the partial hole. Let me poke that there. You want to know where to poke your hole. And then this works just like a regular paper punch. You're just going to line it up right with the spot and squeeze. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is return to Design Space and cut out all of these heat transfer vinyl mats and then weed away the excess, so then I can show you how to press the different layers to create these earrings. So I've finished cutting all of my heat transfer vinyl layers. I've weeded away all of the excess, and then I have trimmed apart the two shapes. So if they cut next to each other on the vinyl, I trim them apart so everything is separate and ready to be placed individually. So let's go ahead and do the little birdhouses first. So we're just going to take our faux leather layer, and I'm going to start pressing in the order that I think is best. Sometimes it depends on what's going on top of something else, and sometimes it's just personal preference. Again, check your download for that layering guide where I'll show you my recommended order. So for the little birdhouse, I'm going to recommend that we do the outside, the little top and the bottom first. And that's because it's going to tell us, once we place this layer, it's going to help us know where to place the inside layer that covers the majority of the bird nest. So I lined up that little hole there. That's a great way to do it. And then I made sure that my bottom here was centered. There should be a very skinny outline that you can see of whatever your faux leather color is underneath. So just make sure that that's all nice and even and your hole lines up. So we have our Easy Press Mini set on the low setting. If you're using a larger Easy Press, I would set it to about 265 degrees. Then we're just going to take our little cover sheet. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed smaller, but you can use butcher paper or parchment paper. And I'm just going to cover and press for about 5 to 7 seconds, just enough to tack down this layer. Now what I want to do is very slowly and carefully peel back this clear carrier sheet. And I'm doing it slowly because if my vinyl lifts up at all, then all I need to do is place it right back down, and then I can press some more. So let's just very slowly do this. This is looking good so far. Perfect. So that's what that looks like. Now I'm going to place the layer that is going to be the body, the entire part of the little birdhouse here. And since we did that first layer, that's going to help us know exactly where to place this layer. We're just going to line it up between the top and the bottom birdhouse shapes. We'll just repeat, cover and press. Again, just slowly peel back. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place this shape that looks, it's a circle with a scalloped edge. That's going to be the little nest part. I'm going to line that up. It's always a good idea to either refer back to the layering guide or to refer to your art and design space if you want to remind yourself of where to place different elements. We'll just cover and press again for about 5 to 7 seconds. Peel away that carrier sheet. And now we're just going to do the last layer, which is the circle that goes right on top of that scalloped edge circle. There we go. And I will cover and press. That came out very cute. So this is warm and I don't want it to start to curl. So I'm going to place this warm faux leather shape underneath my heat pressing pad so that it can cool nice and flat while I go back and do the other little birdhouse earring. So my second little birdhouse earring is all pressed. Again, I'm going to let it cool nice and flat underneath my heat pressing pad. So moving on to our bird's nest earrings, we have our little faux leather shapes and we have all of our little eggs and our little nest shapes. And again, we're going to use the guide of where the earring hole is and the edges that are cut on our faux leather shape. We're going to use those two visual guides to help us line up our little nest layer on top of the faux leather layer. That looks good. We can see the hole and all of our little vinyl layers are matching up on those edges. So we'll just cover and press. Now the next layer that we're going to do is the egg with the cutout, the earring hole cut out, and that's going to help us line up this egg correctly, which then in turn will help us line up all the other eggs and place them in the appropriate spot also. So I'm just going to line up this egg with that little cutout hole. just like that. I'll cover and press. Now the other egg shapes are giving us some cues. So this egg shape has a little cutout on the right hand side. That tells me it's going to go on the right, up against the little nest line. This one has a cutout on the left, so that one's going to go on the left. And then this little half egg is going to go down here in front of our center egg. So I've placed this egg where that little tapered edge on the bottom is nestled right inside the nest border, so it looks like the egg is inside of the nest. Again, I'll just cover and press. Now I'll do the egg for the other side. Again, I'm just lining up that little cut edge along with the bottom edge of the nest. And then finally we'll do that little half egg that goes in the front. And that's the little nest. Isn't that cute? Okay, again, I'll put this underneath my heat pressing pad, let it cool while I press the other nest earring. So my second nest earring is complete. I'm going to let this cool underneath my heat pressing pad. And now we're going to attach our earring hooks to our earrings. So I've already gone ahead and turned the bottom loop of my shepherd hook earring. This loop was facing sideways like this. I've already used my pliers to turn it so it is facing forward, and that's going to help our earrings hang straight. I have a whole YouTube video on how to do this step by step, and I'll link to that for you in case you want to watch that. But our earring loop is facing forward now, and all I need are two 6mm jump rings to attach our earrings to the hooks. I have my flat nose jewelry making pliers. I'm just going to open up my 6mm jump ring. I do this with 2 pair of pliers. I like to hold one of the pair of pliers on one side. I like the opening of the jump ring to be facing up. And then I just grip on the other side and twist to open up the jump ring. Now we'll just attach it to the little birdhouse and slide on the earring hook and close that right back up. So I'll just repeat that quickly for the other earrings. And that's it. Aren't those cute? I hope you like this project. I think they came out really cute. They're perfect for spring, and I can't wait to see the earrings that you create. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.